Hey, SongTown, welcome. I'm Clay Mills here with Marty Dodson.
Woo!
Have you ever felt like this job of songwriting and music is just like this insurmountable mountain? Either you don't have enough money to create your demos or your masters or for publicity. Well, we're going to help you out with this. It's all about team building. We're going to cover all the different team members that you could add to your team. And then at the end, we're going to tell you all about how to approach other people to build your team. Marty,
Awesome.
you got
Let's kick it
number one?
off. Yeah, and these don't have to be separate people. Some people can do multiple things on this list, you know. So
Yes.
they're just
I
skill
like
sets.
that. It means we have to divide the proceeds, the royalties,
Fewer ways.
fewer ways.
Exactly. So one thing that it's really helpful to have in your team is a great singer. You know, when I write with people who are great singers, they take me to places melodically that I wouldn't have gone, or they take me to places I didn't know a human could go. You know, sometimes I'm writing with a really great singer and I'm like, oh, wow, can you hit this note? And they're like, oh, sure, I can do that. You know, so it's almost like expanding your toolbox when you write with a great singer. There's a lot of things you can do that you can't do if you don't have a great singer in the room.
Yeah, and a great singer goes back to what we touched on a second ago. If your problem is not having enough money for demos, well, now you don't have to hire a singer because you've written the song with a singer and they can sing the demo and it won't cost you anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And the principle Clay's talking about is that generally what we do in Nashville is if everybody involved in the song just contributes whatever they can contribute. So if somebody's a producer, we'll get to that in a minute, you know, someone's a singer, everybody's just doing their job, you know, to make the song and the recording as good as possible.
Yeah. The next guy on my list, or girl, would be a producer track person.
Mm-hmm.
So you're writing a song all day. At the end of the day, if there's a track person in the room, then we have the ability to have a music track created. Your singer jumps in, puts the vocal down, and you have a full production at the end of the day, or at least enough of a production where over the next few days it can be mixed by your producer. So to me, especially when you're doing things like writing for sync, where you're expected to turn in masters, having a producer on your team is just key.
Yeah.
So if you're co-writing with the producer, they do the track. You're co-writing with the singer, they do the vocal.
Yeah, absolutely. The next thing you need, and this is crucial, is to have someone in the room that's a great writer. It doesn't matter if you have a great production and a great singer if the song's a stinker. So, you know, you need someone in there who's going to kind of guide the song and take the lead in that part of it and make sure that the song is the best it can be.
Yeah, as we used to say in the studio, you can't polish a turd.
Yes, that is true.
Things you never thought you would hear Clay say.
Just stick around. What's the next one?
Well, so you've got your song written, you've got a demo or a master. The next would be a song plugger. So we have song pluggers in SongTown that work with our members. But basically a song plugger would work for a publisher or be independent. And I hand them a demo of my song and they go out on the street and try to get artists to record it.
Yeah.
They'll play the song for labels. They'll play the songs for producers. They'll play the songs for artists, managers, anyone connected to a project to get that song recorded. So it can be a big help because you don't have to do all that yourselves. And a lot of times pluggers have connections that we don't have as writers, you know, so I think they're crucial.
Yeah. And, you know, that can be, there's other ways to think about that role too. You know, it doesn't have to be someone whose job is song plugger. I've had cuts where my co-writer knew the artist and sent it to the artist and the artist cut it. So my co-writer acted as the plugger in that scenario. Right. I had a song that George Strait played for Kenny Chesney on his bus, and then George decided not to put it on his record, and Kenny cut it. So I considered George Strait was my song plugger on that one. You know, so there's all kinds of different ways that can look.
Your next door neighbor. She might be buddies at church with an A&R person.
Yeah.
And hand your, tape over to them.
Absolutely. So when we say song plugger...
I just said tape.
Ooh, you did, didn't you?
Do we even use
That's
tape
retro.
anymore?
Scotch tape.
A CD, maybe?
Scotch tape, mainly.
Thumb
No.
drive? Here's my complete catalog on my thumb drive.
Sure, yeah. But you need somebody in the room, or it's helpful to have somebody in the room that has some connections to get that song placed somewhere or in the hands of somebody at least to hear it.
Yeah.
So that's an important part of the team, is the song plugger or somebody with some connections. What would you say is next?
Admin. You can take this one since I took the plugger.
Okay.
I just like to share.
All right. So admin person is someone who files copyrights. They register the song with the PRO. They take care of everything to make sure you're going to get paid. That's something you can do on your own if you want to educate yourself about how to do it. But it's also something that you can hire companies to do, and they might charge you 10%, 15% of the money they collect. But in my experience, they're usually collecting more money than I would collect on my own, so they have lots of connections that I don't have. So that someone doing admin is an important role. And in SongTown, I know we have a lot of people that write with particular teams, and they have one person on the team that registers the song with the PROs to make sure that it's right, so that can be something you assign to somebody on your team, or it can be a professional service.
Yeah. And I think they usually take about 10 to 15% of the money for doing your admin.
I already said that. You stole that from me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't listening.
What's our last one?
How do we approach people? Because especially I got into the music business, I was very shy. So how do you approach other people about being on your team? I know you're very good at that. So how do you put say for instance, your sync teams together? How do you go about that?
Instead of just kind of cold calling people, I reach out and I say, hey, I'm working on some sync things. I've heard some of your work that's in this vein. I'd love to write some of that kind of stuff with you.
So there's a purpose for you writing, rather than just saying, hey, you want to write sometime?
Yeah. Or I might say, hey, I've got this idea for Kenny Chesney. I've got a good connection to get the song heard. Would you be interested in writing that with me? So I'm inviting someone into a particular project more than just in general saying, hey, let's write sometime. And I think, to me, that's been a lot more beneficial than just emailing people that don't know me saying, hey, would you be willing to write?
Yeah, in SongTown, I know members meet in our classes, our live lessons, in the forums. So I always tell people that it's better when you're looking to build your team, that you find people that you really are excited about what they do.
Yeah.
You never want to feel like I'm better than somebody or I'm less. There needs to be this mutual respect. So everyone on your team really needs to have respect for each other if it's going to work to the best of its ability.
Yeah, absolutely. And we left one thing out from our list that I want to throw in.
Oh.
A mentor can be a valuable person on your team, or someone to give you feedback.
Did you have a mentor?
I did. I had a Hall of Fame songwriter mentor, and he changed my life as far as what he taught me about songwriting. And I know you did as well, with several people.
Yeah, I never had a publisher that was like you had a publisher that was a great writer. But one person I wrote with a lot, his publisher was a great writer. And like one time we played him a song and he's like, you guys really need a bridge on this song. So we wrote a bridge and it got cut. It was a top 5 single for Andy Griggs. And that would have never happened if there wasn't a publisher going, I really think you guys need a bridge. But the opposite of that was my first #1 song, Beautiful Mess. One of my co-writers played it for his publisher, and the guy's like, that's the worst chorus. He's like, you guys can beat that. Like, he was just trashing the song. And since then, he's apologized because, he's like, I just didn't get it. But it can work the other way where you have to be strong enough as a writer to go, no, I believe in the song no matter what the mentor said.
Yeah.
So, you have to trust your gut.
Yeah. And, the mentor doesn't have to be a publisher or a Hall of Fame songwriter. it can be a co-writer that you trust their feedback, but just having people that you can bounce things off of and get a different perspective is a really important part of the team.
Yeah, and in SongTown, for our members, you get one song a month, feedback from a pro writer. We have open live stream events where we bring in publishers to give feedback and have signed songs from those events. So yeah, we've got ways to mentor you up at SongTown, as well as one-on-one mentoring sessions.
Absolutely. If you have things you want us to talk about, put them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And we will see you soon.
Cheers.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you appreciate the content, hit the subscribe button and help us grow. Shout out to Sweetwater Music. It's where Marty and I get all our musical gear. Great people. We'll see you guys around town. Right on.